But all this other stuff that's going on around the fight, I mean, you're talking about me, you're talking about Francis, you're talking about Chael, you're talking about all these things and almost ignoring Jones has lived in those places and he could drown Tom Aspinall. But we'll never know if this dude don't just fight or quit. Or quit. Not everybody gets to retire. John Jones will get to retire from fighting. But if he doesn't fight this guy, then that's just him quitting.
Daniel Cormier didn't hold back when calling out John Jones, accusing the UFC heavyweight champion of ducking a fight that fans have long been waiting for. While there's no denying the legendary status Jones holds in the sport, recent developments have sparked serious doubt about whether he'll ever unify the title against Aspinall. Since capturing the heavyweight belt, fans have seen more questions than answers regarding what's next for Jones. Rumors of retirement have begun circulating, leaving fighters and fans in limbo. Aspinall, who's been patiently waiting since November 2023, seems ready to move on regardless of what Jones decides. His only goal is to keep fighting.
And I'm literally just waiting for a date. I'm not bothered where it is. I'm not bothered who it's against, to be honest. It's not just the John Jones fight I'm looking for. I'm looking to fight, man. Like, I'm in shape. I've been working hard since way before Christmas. I've been in the gym twice a day. I've got international training partners here. I am prepared to fight.
Adding to the puzzle is John Jones's own admission in a recent interview. When asked if he would still love fighting the same way if he wasn't champion, Jones didn't hesitate. He said no. He explained that he's deeply tied to the idea of winning, to the point where it may not even be healthy. He watches other fighters lose and still smile, still hug their families. That's not him. For Jones, losing would be devastating. He admitted it would make him angry, depressed, and miserable.
No, I don't think I can ever be a person who loves fighting as a non-winner. For me, I'm so connected to winning. It's probably not even healthy. You know, like I see fighters that take losses and they smile and they hug their wives and they, you know, hey, better luck next time. If I were to ever lose, I would be devastated. I'd be angry and I'd be upset and depressed.
Echoing the same opinion, Curtis Blaydes, another top contender in the heavyweight division, has a more respectful view. He acknowledges Jones's accomplishments and doesn't believe he's afraid of Aspinall.
No idea. Like, I'm not going to be disrespectful and say he's scared. He can't be scared. I have no idea.
However, Blaydes doesn't shy away from pointing out the truth either. He sees the decision more as a calculated move, one based on risk versus reward. In his opinion, Jones has yet to beat a prime heavyweight. He explained that Cyril Gane, whom Jones beat, had noticeable flaws in grappling, and Stipe Miocic, though a great, was older and rusty when Jones fought him. There were moments in that fight, Blaydes observed, where a younger Miocic might have capitalized on opportunities and perhaps changed the outcome.
He's wrong, but you're right. He probably does think that, but if he were honest with himself, like, he hasn't beaten a real heavyweight, like a real prime heavyweight. You beat Khan, who he's got obvious holes in the grappling, and then you beat a old Stipe who was rusty and who did have you. He had you, like, there were moments in that fight where Stipe, a younger Stipe, maybe takes advantage of those times he had him.
Blaydes added that a win over Aspinall would be the ultimate stamp on Jones's heavyweight legacy. It would silence doubters and confirm him as the true greatest of all time in the division. On the flip side, even if Jones were to lose, it wouldn't damage his reputation. Fans would likely understand the loss, considering his age and the fact that he isn't a natural heavyweight. For Blaydes, there's nothing wrong with that. The real issue is Jones refusing to step into the octagon to settle the question.
I think if John were to beat Tom, we would all be like, okay, he legitimately is the GOAT. He legitimately won the heavyweight title. It would just, I think it would help him. I think it would help him more than, even if he lost. Because, bro, we get it. You're old. You're not a real heavyweight. We get it. You can lose. It's okay.
Aspinall, for his part, seems unfazed by the situation. In a casual conversation with Paddy Pimblett on YouTube, he touched on how Jones might be nearing the end of his fighting career. Aspinall suggested Jones is living it up in Thailand and enjoying life. He believes that, like anyone else, Jones has simply reached his time limit. Although it was frustrating to sit around and wait for clarity about the fight, Aspinall has accepted it and is focused on what comes next.
Yeah. That old one, living his best life, mate, in Thailand. So everybody reaches a sell-by date, don't they? Everybody's got a time limit. He's reached it, and we move on.
I reckon anyone else in that position would have been stripped. I was talking to Adam Cattle about it the other week.
Yeah, seen it.
He should be stripped now.
It obviously was a bit annoying at the time, but it's all in the past now. We're moving forward. Everything's good. We can get fighting again, and I just want to get fighting, mate.
He emphasized that he's eager to return to action. The long stretch of inactivity, nearly a year of waiting, was difficult. Not because of money or fame, but because he genuinely loves fighting. Aspinall shared how being in the gym every day without a fight on the horizon was disheartening. All he wants is to compete again, to test himself, and to keep improving. Fortunately, he now has more clarity and expects to fight again soon.
Yeah, it's not the best. You know what, it's better now, because I do know what's going on a little bit. And I am going to fight soon, so that's nice. But for like the last kind of 6 months, I've just not known what's going on. Do you know what the worst bit is like, you know this yourself, it's like money, fame, titles, rankings, all that aside, I just love fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
I just like fighting people. That's what I got into it for. I didn't get into it for anything else. All the other stuff is just like nice to have on top. I want to be the best fighter I can be. I love it. I'm in the gym every day. I just want to fight. That's been taken away from me for like nearly a year now, and that's got nothing to do with me, which is, it's a bit frustrating, to be honest, but we are nearly over it now, which is good.
UFC President Dana White has also weighed in on the matter. He made it clear that Tom Aspinall is the rightful next opponent for Jon Jones. However, if Jones decides to retire, there's nothing anyone can do to stop him.
Talking about, I wonder, is there anything that PFL or Francis could do to make that a realistic option for you guys, or are you fully focused on Aspinall?
Yeah, it's Aspinall's fight. I mean, we've been talking to this kid forever about it, and it's his fight. Listen, you can't make people fight. If Jon doesn't want to fight, can't make him fight. We can try to make him fight. We can throw things at him that inspire him to want to fight, but we'll figure it out.
White pointed out that the same thing happened with fighters like Khabib Nurmagomedov and Daniel Cormier. Even though he didn't want them to walk away from the sport, it ultimately wasn't his decision. White stated that Jones hasn't spoken to him directly about retiring, despite recent social media activity suggesting otherwise. He remains committed to making the Jones versus Aspinall fight happen, if Jones is willing.
Just to clarify there, you said Jon has agreed to fight with Tom.
Clarify, you said that Jon agreed to fight Tom, yes?
Jon agreed to fight Tom?
Is that what you just said there? Before, like on the last answer, you said...
Jon agreed to fight Tom, yes.
So he hasn't signed a contract,
right? Yeah.
That's
I mean, you guys have heard me for the last however long. I said, I guarantee you this fight's going to happen. This fight's going to happen. Fight's going to happen.
On the other hand, Daniel Cormier's take on the situation runs deeper than just fighting logistics. He respects what Jon Jones has accomplished. He admits Jones has already done enough to be considered one of the greatest fighters ever. But at the same time, Cormier believes that holding the belt comes with responsibilities, especially when there's an interim champion waiting. According to Cormier, it's not about personal rivalries or side stories involving other fighters like Francis Ngannou or Chael Sonnen. The focus should be on doing the right thing, which is unifying the title.
But all this other stuff that's going on around the fight, I mean, you're talking about me, you're talking about Francis, you're talking about Chael, you're talking about all these things and almost ignoring the right thing. The right thing is to go fight this kid. And if you beat him, which is a real thing and a real likely scenario, you can then stick it to everybody like you've done on so many different occasions and tell them about it.
Cormier believes that if Jones truly wanted to prove everyone wrong, as he has many times in the past, this would be the perfect opportunity. Beating Aspinall wouldn't just validate his legacy, it would be the most satisfying way for Jones to silence his critics. Cormier imagines a scenario where Jones wins and can confidently say, "I told you so," just like he's done countless times in his career, but that can only happen if he takes the fight.
Nothing feels better to a guy like John Jones to be able to beat the guy that you thought was going to get him, and then going, what did I say to you? It's sweeter than any title or anything else you can give this man. But he's got to be willing to take that chance to go and fight this dude.
Cormier also isn't blind to the dangers of facing a younger, hungry fighter like Aspinall. He acknowledged that the Brit could easily end the fight early with a knockout. At the same time, he envisions Jones using his signature strategy to drag Aspinall into deeper rounds, where experience and fight IQ take over. Either outcome is possible, and that's exactly why the fight is so intriguing.
Tom Aspinall could put him out. He could shut his lights out. Because guess what? You can hit John Jones. He can be hit, but he's tough, and he has a great chin. He can be hit, though. And if he gets hit by that dude, a big guy like that who's fast, Tom could put him out right away. That's a real possibility. But there's also a possibility that Jones takes him deep into a fight that he's never, in a place where he's never been before, where Jones has lived. Jones has lived in those places, and he could drown Tom Aspinall. But we'll never know if this dude don't just fight or quit. Or quit. That's the truth. Not everybody gets to retire. John Jones will get to retire from fighting. But if he doesn't fight this guy, then that's just him quitting.
What baffles Cormier the most is Jones's mindset. He finds it hard to relate to the idea of walking away from such a challenge. Cormier says that if he were still fighting and held the heavyweight belt, he would have already taken on Aspinall without hesitation. The prospect of someone so dangerous would have only fueled his motivation. For him, the fear of losing wasn't a reason to run, it was a reason to prepare harder. That's what being a true fighter meant to him.
I can tell you guys on good authority, if I was still fighting today, and I was still the heavyweight champion, and Tom Aspinall was the #1 contender, I would have already fought him. 1,000%. The mindset that I carried through my fight career, knowing how dangerous, it would have been nothing but excitement to see someone standing across the octagon that could potentially beat me or knock my ass out. That would have made me train harder, smarter, and be more prepared than I ever could have been. That's what that would have done to me. What it's doing to John Jones is very disturbing, and it's very hard for me to understand, because in my mind, this guy's a fighter, because I've seen him do it time and time again.
Seeing Jones react differently is what disturbs Cormier. He always saw Jones as the kind of fighter who would never back down, especially from a challenge that could cement his greatness once and for all. If Jones does retire without taking the Aspinall fight, Cormier argues, that would be quitting, plain and simple. Not because he's afraid, but because he's choosing not to take the fight that matters the most right now. And in the eyes of many, that's something no champion should ever do.
Not everybody gets to retire. John Jones will get to retire from fighting. But if he doesn't fight this guy, then that's just him quitting. There's one real fight for him, and he's not so old and washed up that he can't take it. So that's how I feel about that.
Meanwhile, Tom Aspinall has claimed that John Jones is avoiding a fight with him due to a mix of fear and financial concerns. He stated that he is the toughest matchup for Jones. Supporting this view, Demetrius Johnson also argued that facing Aspinall would be a significant risk for John Jones. He went on to highlight the strengths in Aspinall's fighting style that posed a real threat to the reigning heavyweight champion.
Well, I can tell you some stuff about the money situation, but I'm not sure I can say it on camera, so I will tell you that after. I think I'm a bad matchup for him, to be honest. And I think he knows it.
My opinion, I think it's a huge risk.
Yep.
It's a huge risk. You're younger, you're athletic, you hit hard, you pose problems. We don't have much data on you, meaning that we don't know what happens if you do. And this is me speaking from an analyst and like my experience in MMA. Like if I was to fight Tom Aspinall, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, he's very fast, very athletic, light on his toes. Okay, he blitzes across the void. So if he gets across the void,
Demetrius also emphasized the risk a fight with Tom Aspinall poses to Jon Jones's career. He noted that Jones has already lived out most of his career and has limited time left, while Aspinall is still rising and has much more ahead of him. Johnson suggested that Jones fears a loss to Aspinall could launch Tom into superstardom, something Jones may be reluctant to witness.
Can I take that shot? A lot of people have not been able to take that shot. So if he gets across that void and I get hit, I might go fucking down. That happens, you become the biggest fucking star ever. You just slayed the GOAT in a lot of people's eyes, right? Or if I go out there, Jones' eyes, if I go out there and I beat him, it was just as his words said, he's here today, gone tomorrow, right? So that's my opinion, like from his standpoint, or maybe he wants $40 million. I have no idea, right? That's my opinion. Go ahead, give your piece. He asked the question, so it wasn't directed towards me, it was towards you.
I honestly can see John's point of view. I get it. I get it.
Demetrius Johnson then went on to mock Jon Jones for continuously delaying the fight, calling out his repeated excuses about money and lack of interest. Meanwhile, Tom Aspinall clarified that his motivation is purely about the belt, emphasizing that he's chasing championship gold and holds nothing personal against Jon Jones.
It's just about the title for me.
Yep.
I just want the title, that's it.
Yep.
Does nothing else really matters. So, yeah, I get it completely. Get his point of view. Get what everybody's saying. Completely understand. I just want to prove I'm the best. That's all.
You're like, let me do my thing. Let me fight.
I just want to fight.
And I think that's the respectful way to go about it. It's like, you don't care if it's Jon, and it's no disrespect to Jon. It's no disrespect to anybody out there. You're just trying to fight. Yep. I just want to fight.
Yep.
And like I said before, at the beginning of the podcast, is that this is the only sport where somebody's putting you on ice. And it's not necessarily, it could be not necessarily Jon. It could just be they're trying to make him do something. He was like, guys, I'm just, I got 50 million to bank. I don't really need to fight.
Reacting to the situation, Michael Bisping shared his thoughts, stating that Jon Jones is holding up the division and has been inactive for a long time. So much so that Tom Aspinall has spent nearly 70% of Jones's reign as the interim champion. Bisping criticized Jones for posting about enjoying his life while seemingly forgetting the responsibility he has to his fans and the other fighters in the division.
He's holding up the division, okay? Tom Aspinall, the interim champion, has been the interim champ for 70% of Jon Jones's reign. They need to fight one another. And what the F is going on? Why isn't this fight scheduled? And now, of course, we've seen all this stuff coming out about Jon Jones. He's not sure, he's tweeting, he might be retired, he might not be retired, he's living his best life. I mean, that's all well and good. Of course he's living his best life. He's had a tremendously successful life. He's one of the greatest fighters the world's ever seen, okay? And with that, he's made a tremendous amount of money. Of course, you're living a good life, but as the heavyweight champion of the world, you have a debt, you have an obligation to the fighters, to the fans.
Furthermore, Michael went on to highlight how the situation is becoming increasingly absurd, with Jon Jones appearing to enjoy life, filming content with Nate Diaz, riding bikes, and even getting involved in scuffles, while the division remains in limbo. Bisping argued that Jones cannot truly maintain the legacy of being an undisputed champion as long as Tom Aspinall holds the interim title, urging Jones to reconsider his position and legacy in the sport.
He's not the undisputed champ because there's an interim champion. And I'm not saying this as someone trying to shit on Jon Jones. No, this is just the situation. Now, first of all, talking about living his best life. You've probably seen this right now. He's out in Thailand, he's driving around, he's on the back of someone's motorbike, he's having a good smell of somebody's hair, he's with some Russian dudes because Jon Jones and Nate Diaz are filming some like Russian version of The Ultimate Fighter. Jake Shields was there. The guy that was riding the motorcycle comes in, kicks off to, he's still hammered from the night out. He doesn't look like he can fight his way out of a wet paper bag, but he's swinging punches and all this type of stuff. Nate Diaz gives him a slap. Jon Jones is laughing his head off. Gotta be careful out there, boys. Anytime you're dealing with a bunch of Chechens and a bunch of Russians, you gotta be careful.
Moving on, many within the MMA community have begun speaking out against Jon Jones, calling for the UFC to strip him of his title. A petition has already gathered over 17,000 signatures, reflecting growing frustration over his inactivity. This, according to critics, is a clear sign that Jon Jones's legacy is being severely tarnished. One of the petition's signers is a former opponent of Tom Aspinall, who expressed no doubt that stripping Jones of the belt is the right move.
A lot of people are speaking on this. In fact, they've started a petition. The people have spoken. They have started a petition, and it's on 17,000 votes. 17,000 people in the MMA community so far in a very short amount of time are all saying strip Jon Jones. And one of those people is Tom Aspinall's former opponent, Curtis Blades. He said, listen, without a doubt, they should be stripping Jon Jones. And everyone is starting to get a little bit tired of it. And now Jon Jones is even tweeting and alluding that maybe the fight's not even gonna go down. Let's just take a look at the Twitter feed of Jon Jones. He says, I've been out here in Thailand, I'm enjoying life, I'm stuffing my face every day, and I swear I'm losing weight. Yeah, because the food's not full of shit and chemicals, that's why.
And that's a wrap. If you got something out of this video, hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. Got thoughts, questions, or your own take? Drop them in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.